Greetings, Benjamin J. from Ben's Trains with another in the series. Well, I did a video, I don't know, last year sometime, I think. Anyway, I was up at Dollar Tree, and I found these button lamps. And you can find them at Hobby Lobby, you can find them at Menards sometimes. As you see, it says button lamp. And it's a stick-on LED light that is fully encapsulated in a piece of plastic. They are completely waterproof, and you see there's a couple of batteries stacked in there. And these things will last for a long, long time. They are intensely bright. But when you look at it from this angle, what does that look like to you? It looks like the front of a locomotive. So, with that in mind, I took a 400 shell, ground the front of it off, and installed one of these button lamps on the front of the locomotive, which gives you an intensely bright, instant battery-powered headlight. As you see, this thing is incredibly bright. You can probably no doubt tell that. It is really, really bright. And I've got it epoxied to the front of this Marx 400. This is an old broken shell, as you see. But this would be the perfect application for wind-ups. If you want to add a headlight to a wind-up, this works. As you see, a layman would not know that that was not part of that locomotive. It actually looks quite respectable on the front of a locomotive. Like I said, for a Marx 400 wind-up, anything that you want to add a headlight to. And, excuse me, it actually comes with an adhesive disc on the back. Just peel off this coating and you can stick it onto the front of a locomotive. You can stick it onto anything. But in this case, it actually doesn't look too bad. It looks like part of the locomotive, and it gives you an instant, intensely bright white LED light that is actually incredibly bright. And this hurts your eyes looking at it. So if you put a motor in this thing that was running around the rail, no one would know that was a wind-up, if it was a wind-up, of course. I mean, this is an incredibly bright LED light that will last for weeks, very likely, if you leave it on. It will last an incredible amount of time. It is really, really bright. It's simple. They're really inexpensive. In this case, if you get them at the Dollar Tree, you get two of them for $1. And they look nice. I mean, if you look at that, that actually looks like part of the locomotive. So what I did was just took the locomotive and literally ground the entire front of it off where the light bezel was. And as you see, that actually doesn't look bad. And like I said, a layman who saw this for the first time would never know that that was not part of the original locomotive. Has an instant on-off switch. It is fully encapsulated. It is completely waterproof. Like I said, you could leave this thing on for weeks, very likely. It would last an incredible amount of time. Excuse me. Anyway, just wanted to do a quick video on this. It's a really, really simple expedient. And it works. That's the neat thing about it. And in this case, I just ground it off and ground the entire front bezel off, and then just epoxied this in position. And as you see, that looks like the front of a locomotive. No matter what angle you look at it from, it looks like the front of a locomotive. It's really simple. They're really, really inexpensive. Of course, best of all, it's a really easy and simple way to light a locomotive with an incredibly bright white LED light, as you see. I mean, this thing is bright. You have to squint your eyes if you're looking directly into it. It is really, really bright. The nice thing about it, of course, is the fact that it works. It's really, really simple. It's really inexpensive. It's really effective. There's no doubt about that. And it's a really simple way to add a headlight to a locomotive that does not have one. Now, it requires some modification to the shell. But even so, it's a great way to, say, take a wind-up, which they have 400 and 490 wind-ups. They look just like this. They're called 101s, actually. And you can add this light to it for $1. And it's really, really simple. Like I said, it's fully encapsulated in a plastic envelope. So they're completely waterproof. It's never going to break down. It'll take, oh, I don't know, probably a week if you left this thing burning. It would burn nonstop for days. There's no doubt about that. Intermittent use, it'll last for years, very likely. And since it's completely encapsulated, it won't be affected by moisture. So you could store it anywhere. The thing is, it works. It gives you an incredibly bright white headlight on this old 400 shell. And it looks like it was actually made for the front of a locomotive. It works, it's simple, it's cheap, it is incredibly bright. There's no doubt about that. Anyway, I did a video on this some time ago when I first started experimenting with it. I think the day I found them, but didn't do anything with them. And so tonight, of course, trying to keep busy during the exile, I went ahead and epoxied this onto the front of a Marx 400. And as you see, it's self-contained. You don't have to change anything on the light. Just basically face off the front of the boiler and attach this with a bit of 5-minute epoxy. It becomes virtually a permanent part of the locomotive. Should it ever actually die, just put a screwdriver behind it, pop it off, and stick another one on there. I mean, you get 2 for $1. They are really, really cheap. Like I said, I found them at Dollar Tree. I would imagine Menards would have them. Not really sure where else. Hobby Lobby, perhaps. Anyway, the way it's designed, the way it's shaped, it looks like the front of a locomotive. And they're designed to just like perhaps stick to a shelf. And it gives you an instant light. You just reach up, turn it on where you need it. Anyway, in this case, it looks like the front of a locomotive. It works like the front of a locomotive. And it has an intensely bright white LED light that will burn for very likely a week if you leave it on. And that LED draws nothing, and there's a fairly good-sized battery. And like I said, these are totally encapsulated. As you see, it looks like 2 batteries in there if you actually look at that. 2 big button batteries. So this is going to last for a very, very long time. And you just flip the lever, and that light comes on. And like I said, these things are incredibly bright. It hurts your eyes to look at them. And it looks like the front of a locomotive. And in this case, it looks exactly like the front of a locomotive. So I just wanted to do a quick video on this. Do with it what you will. But it is a great expedient. It is a great way to add a headlight to a wind-up locomotive, a battery-powered locomotive, whatever. And it could be adapted probably any other locomotive that's missing the front bezel. You can just replace it with this button lamp. And again, that's what it's called, a button lamp. It has a lever on the front that shuts it off, on and off. It is completely encapsulated. It works underwater, so it'll never be affected by moisture. And as you see, that actually looks like the front of a locomotive, and it gives you an instant, intensely bright white headlight. So anyway, I just want to do a quick video on this. It works, it's simple, self-contained, and incredibly bright, and really, really inexpensive. And not only is it bright, but it looks nice. I mean, it actually looks like the front of a locomotive. No one would ever think that that was just something that's been attached to the front of this shell. It looks like the front of a locomotive, and it gives you an instant, intensely bright white headlight. So, just a quick video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, benstrains@gmail.com. And as always, thank you for watching.